Om Bhagavad Gita, the holy speech of Bhagavan Sri Krishna. Chapter 2, Experimental Philosophy. Sankhya. Sanjay told Dhritarashtra, having seen Arjuna depressed, dejected, broken-hearted, and tears in his eyes, Madhusudana, Krishna, asked him as follows. Krishna asked, O Arjuna, how such type of impure, unjust thoughts come to you in your mind? These things are not befitting for a man who has knowledge about the principles of life. These things do not help the man to take him to the higher abode. They become causes for his defame. O Partha, don't be so impatient. To act like this is not befitting you. Forsake such type of feeble mindedness. Oh Parantapa, get up. Arjuna asked, O Madhusudana, tell me, how can I fly arrows on the persons like Bhishma and Drona, whom I worship? To lead life begging is more better than to kill such highly regarded holy teachers of me. Even though they have a desire for physical gain, they are highly respected. If I kill them, all our enjoyments will become bloodshed. We do not understand whether we get victory over them or we get defeat by them. We also do not know which thing is better between these two. We need not hope to live if we kill them. Even then, though the sons of Dhritarashtra stand before us as opponents, I am totally confused because of my feeble mind. In this situation, I ask you to tell what is the best for me. I am your disciple. I subdue before you. Please guide me. Even achieving sovereign, whole and sole power with no enemies as to God in heaven, I cannot overcome these lamentations, grief and sorrow. Sanjay told Dhritarashtra, having told Hrishikesha, the Krishna, this, Gurudakesha Parantapa, Arjuna said, O Govinda, I shall not fight. O Bharata, Dhritarashtra, standing in the middle between of the armies, Hrishikesha Krishna, with a laughter, told, lamented Arjuna as follows. Bhagavan said, you are lamenting over such things which are not worthy to lament. You speak like a savant, very learned man, but savant never lament for either living nor dead. There was never a time when I, you, and all these kings were not in existence. In the future also, we shall never lose our existence. As the life, soul in body, passes through stages like childhood, youth, and old age, the soul enters into another body. Hence, the courageous persons never get confused. O Kunti, Kaunteya, Arjuna, the sense of happiness and sorrows are experienced with the senses only, just like ears, nose, tongue, and body, the skin. They, happiness and sorrows, are like the cycle of winter and summer. O higher of Bharata, Arjuna, all the enjoyments and sorrows are produced are the product of which the sensations, feelings of senses. Man should learn to bear them without any grudge or murmur. O Purushottama, O Purusha Rushabha, Arjuna, one who never perturbs with happiness and sorrow and remains steady in both the situations is fit for salvation and moksha, the liberation, emancipation, and deliverance. The physical body never lasts forever. It dies, and soul, which is true and everlasting, never dies. The philosophers, having foresight, philosophizing, drew this conclusion that soul is everlasting and body is mortal. Soul is immortal. You try to understand that which has occupied the whole body is undestroyable. No one can destroy that everlasting soul. All the physical, material bodies, formation of five elements of eternal, immortal, unlimited, ununderstandable, undestroyable soul are soul definitely going to die, to perish, destroy. Therefore, you fight. One who thinks that soul murders or soul is murderer, he is ignorant, because soul does not murder or is not a murderer. Process of taking birth or dying is not for soul. Soul has no birth, soul has no death. It never takes birth, it never dies. Soul is unborn, eternal, constant, and everlasting, ancient and immortal. Soul does not die with the death of a body. Oh, Prutha, Arjuna, how one can understand? Who understands that soul is eternal, constant, immortal, and how can he murder, kill anybody or cause for anybody's death? As a man throws away, abandons old, torn, and tattered clothes and wears new clothes, the soul also abandons the useless body and takes possession of new material, physical body. Soul cannot be cut into pieces with any weapon, cannot burn with fire, cannot be made wet with water, and cannot be dried with wind. This soul is undissoluble and unbreakable, undiminishable. It is not possible to dry or burn it. Soul is eternal, filled everywhere, unchangeable, constant, immortal, and static. It is said that this soul is invisible, imperceptible, unimaginable, and static. Know this and do not lament, weep for the body. Even if you feel that the soul is instinct about life, often takes birth and often dies, O Mahabaho, very powerful Arjuna, it is undeservable for you to lament, to weep over it. Death of one who is born is certain and definite. In the same way, birth of one who is dead is definite. Hence, it is improper for you to lament over your unavoidable duty. All beings are invisible at the beginning. They are visible during the period of life. Again, they become invisible after their destruction, end of life. So, why should we be sorrowful? Some look at this soul as wondrous. Some describe it as strange. Some hear about it as a surprise. But there are some others also who, after hearing about it, unable to acknowledge it. O Bharata, one lives, dwells in the body, can never be killed. Hence, you should not mourn over any creature. Considering your own duties, you should take note that there is nothing better for you than to fight for the cause of righteous, because you have come from a race of warriors. O Partha, the soldiers who get such a chance to fight without making any efforts are really very lucky and happy. The doors of heaven are widely opened for them. But if you do not do your duty to fight for justice, the act will be careless and full of cowardice. You will be definitely called a sinful person. You will lose your fame as a warrior. People will always describe your defame, even for a most ordinary man. Defamation is more horrible and worse than death. Those great warriors and generals who have appreciated your valor and bravery will also feel that you have left the battlefield in cowardice. In their eyes, you will be negligible and contemptible. Your enemies will describe you in insulting words. They will laugh at your deserving personality. What is more painful and disgraceful for you than this? O Kaunteya, if you are killed on the battlefield, you will achieve heaven. On the other hand, if you win, you will enjoy the kingdom of earth. Therefore, get up with full confidence and fight. Don't think of pleasure and pain, gain and loss, win and defeat. Fight for righteous fight. In doing this, you will never become a sinner. Till now, I have explained you analytically about immortality of soul and mortality of a body, how to remain unaffected in any state, equal sight and equal treat for opposite happenings and cause to fight for righteous purpose. Now I describe you how to do duty without expectation of a fruit. Listen, O Partha, if you act with the help of this knowledge, you will become free from the bondage of destiny and fate. There is no harm or loss in trying this method. Even the very little progress protects one from horrible anxieties. They who follow this path get themselves enlightened with sentiment of God. Their motive, goal is also one to uplift themselves in a devotion with Him, the Lord. But oh, Kurunandana, they who are hesitating and confused are always full of complicated anxieties and worries. O Partha, the so-called followers of Vedas have attachment with figurative speech from Vedas. They have passions and they support and justify Vedas to fulfill their passions. In the Vedas, the ways and paths, prayers and worships for various achievements, pleasures, enjoyments, senses, emotions, lewdness, sensuality, love of pleasure of body, and even heaven. The Vedas are able to lift us up to heaven. Pompous and showy ceremonies, functions are well described in Veda. According to the followers and appreciators of the Vedas, nothing other is better than the enjoyments and the achievements. Mind well, Vedas cannot lift us for salvation. Those people who are fully, completely sank under sensuality and worldly pleasure and enjoyment, as well as are ignorant and tempted, can never think to become devoted and devotees. The Vedas chiefly give explanation about three qualities: sattva, raja, tama, of physical state existence. O Arjuna, overcome these three qualities. Be free from the bondage of all things, becoming free from anxiety of gain and protection. Be a faithful devotee of me, Krishna, the God. Know yourself. All the functions and works fulfilled by a small reservoir can be easily done by a large reservoir. In the same way, all things gained by Vedas can easily be obtained by intelligence who know well the intention behind the Vedas. You have the right to do your duty, but you never have a right over the result. Don't misunderstand that you are the cause or the result or the outputs. In the same way, don't get involved and passionate with non-doing the work. So, Dhananjaya, do your duty, keeping faith in me and abandoning affinity, attractions, treating success and failure equal is called the skill of doing things. O Dhananjaya, keep all sensuable, deceitful things aloof with the help of devotion in me, and intellectually surrender the God. Those who enjoy the success, the fruit of their work alone are ungrateful. A person attached in devotional service becomes free from the bondage of destiny, fate, even in present birth. Hence, try to become skillful devotee because the skill in all righteous duty and work is devotion. The great sages, ascetic, and my devotees get themselves free from the bondage of physical destiny and fate. In these ways, they get freedom from birth and death and achieve the place moksha beyond sorrow. When your intellect crosses the thick forest of temptation and ignorance, you will lose interest for what you have heard, and there will remain nothing for you to hear any more. When your mind does not engross in figurative language of Vedas and it is completely in trance position, you will gain divine sentiment. Arjuna asked Krishna, O Keshava, what is the definition of a man who has achieved trance? What are the signs, marks to know him? What does he talk? In which language he speaks? How does he live? How does he act and behave? See, Bhagavan said, O Partha, when a man forsakes, gives up sensual desires and enjoyments of all sorts, he becomes aloof from faulty guessings, achieves divine sentiments, and remains always in trance with pure mind. He is called Sthita Prajna, one who has reached to the state of trance. He who is not perturbed or disturbed in facing sorrows does not have any interest in happiness, enjoyments, and is free from the bondage of desire, fear, and wrath, is called as ascetic, having static mind. He who is not affected with the joyous, auspicious, or unauspicious things, does not praise enjoyments, and does not hate sorrows. In this material, relating to the five elements world, become steady and firm in complete wisdom. The tortoise pulls its parts of a body in under its crust shell spontaneously. In the same way, he who keeps his sense organs away from sensuality becomes steady in his consciousness. Even after making vigorous effective efforts to subdue the sense organs from sensuality, the sensuality does not retire. The interest in it remains, but once after enjoy the pleasure of the highest devotion, the soul in the body completely gets retired from sensuality. O Arjuna, sense organs and sensualities are so powerful and rascal, strength, nerve, accomplish that they attract the mind even of a rationalist and judicious person with very great force. The man who subdues and controls his senses becomes devotee of Supreme God is called the intelligent person in this world. While thinking and pondering over useful, lustful matters, the sensuality of those matters increases and gives rise to lewdness, which turns into wrath, the anger. Wrath gives birth to temptation. Temptation gives rise to forgetfulness. Forgetfulness causes loss of intellect. When there is loss of intellect, the man is totally ruined. But he who free from interest and disinterest and ready to control his sense organs according to the principles of freedom can achieve all blessings of Supreme God, which is blessings, all types of material sorrows and with contemplated satisfied mind. His intellect becomes steady in devotion. He who is non-attached with God or without faith in God can never be intellectual. Without intellect and steady mind, how he can achieve peace? As the boat on the surface of water collapses with a gust of strong wind, in the same way, if the mind is attached, fascinated by any sense organ, it seizes his intellect. O Mahabaho, his through the sense organs are controlled from sensual subjects, intellect has become firm in devotion of the God. When there is night for all the creatures, it is a time for self-controlled persons to awake and to alert. When the creatures arise from sleep, it is time for a sage for introspection. Though the sea is always full filling with water of rivers, entering into it remains calm. In the same way, though the various desires and wishes are entering the mind, the man who does not hesitate alone can achieve peace. He who tries his best to satisfy his desires and wishes can never get peace. Only he achieves genius realistic peace who abandons all his material and sensual desires and wishes, leads passions life, has given up all sorts of ownership, and is away from conceit, true high opinion of oneself. This is the theosophical and metaphysical position. O Partho, after the achievement of this highest position, the man never becomes passionate. One who is steady like this, even at the time of death, can enter metaphysical and theosophical world moksha. Om That truth is it. The second chapter, named as Experimental Philosophy Sankhya, discussed between Sri Krishna and Arjuna about the science of meditation, joining into one with God from theosophy and metaphysics. Oh.